5. Evan, dude, I'm going to be honest. I did not see that Game 5 coming. I cannot believe Rogue didn't win that. What a twist.
Evan, you're like the M. Night Shyamalan of esports. It's great stuff.
Well, I'm just glad that you guys liked it, although some people may have gotten a bit mad.
Oh, people definitely got mad after you knocked G2 out with Reckless on the roster as well.
Reckless, dude. That was actually good. When you had Capo going in week 7, because he thought he was the problem and Excel were going to make playoffs.
He was sweating buckets, man. Wow, Sjokz finishing 4th.
Oh,
that was great.
Dude, perfect. Astralis 3-0 in week 8.
No one expected that.
Just doing my job.
Oh man, that was good. Yeah. Do you have summer?
Do you think I would invite you here if I didn't?
Oh, here we go. Let's have a quick look and see what's on the docket.
So good. Dude, what?
Is this a typo? This says Purpo Jungle. Jungle.
But I had to make space for Adam. It's only logical.
Who is Adam?
Did you guys not read the EU Masters script? I mean, you'll see. Trust me.
But hang on, then what happened to Selfmade? Because he was the jungler for Fnatic. Right?
He's on Vitality?
Yeah.
With Leader?
But Evan, they were 10th place. What are you doing, man?
Exactly. They should be glad I'm not putting the coach on the lineup.
Evan, the coach? Why is that a reasonable comparison? Why would you even say that?
Oh, because he's gone and done it again. What have you done to SK? Why is Jez's on the roster, Evan?
Why is Treats jungle? He was like their MVP. He did everything.
He was so important, Evan.
Guys, okay. I know this may look crazy at first glance, but trust me, this is nothing compared to what I did to the LCS.
What
Have a
happened
look.
to the LCS? How did you even get their script, Evan? It's like, this seems very unprecedented.
You benched Alfari?
What? Yeah. Evan, he's the only Welsh player in the world. Why would you bench Alfari?
But this wasn't a spur of the moment, okay? This is something I've been thinking about for a while.
Oh, it wasn't spur of the moment. It wasn't spur of the moment. Of course it wasn't.
I might be overreacting a little bit, but dude, I do think that this is crazy. I don't think anyone's gonna believe this.
Dragos, it has to be crazy. Just go to the last page.
Evan,
What are they doing? This is absurd.
really?
What?
Evan,
What?
really?
What's on the last page?
After all this time?
What? What is it? What is it?
Dude, come on, bring it in.
What? Are you for real? This is happening? Okay, let's go.
Dude.
Let's go.
It's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year.
Up top.
This is
up
good.
top.
Oh my
Here
God.
we go.
Yes, dude.
It's
Yes,
all worth it in
finally.
the end.
Germany for the opening day of the LEC Summer season. The wait is finally over, and after one of the most eventful mid-seasons we have ever seen, the expectations have been thrown out of the window. Week 1 starts with a clash between new and former champions as G2 Esports are coming in with a lot to prove versus the Mad Lions. I'm Sjokz, joined by Quickshot and Ender, and I am so happy to be back.
It is so good to be back. The anime intro, the player changes, the new patch. I'm hyped.
And Ender, so glad to see you, man.
It's fine.
Surprise! I never left. Technically, I'm in Los Angeles, so the power of the internet has made things easier, but I'm super glad to share day one with you guys.
Yeah, so are we. Obviously, when we were rehearsing, it was still dark out there, and now the sun is up, and you are the sun in our lives, so I'm very happy that you are joining our show. Before we look ahead towards week one, let's remind everyone of where we left off. The Mad Lions became the new champions in a historic final versus Rogue. Ender, I know you casted this one. Give us the highlights of that eventful best of 5.
Honestly, I just went back and watched the last couple of games in the countdown screen, and I had forgotten just how close these games were. Of course, Rogue jumped out to an early 2-0 lead, but every single game just came down to that one final team fight in the end. But it was Mad Lions grinding at the end with a 5,000 gold deficit, and this turnaround team fight to eventually get them the victory and send them to MSI.
But the storyline is crazy. It was the first time ever that a final didn't feature Fnatic or G2. Rogue go up 2-0, and honestly, we were like, that's it, easy, done. Like, it's kind of another crappy 3-0 final, you know, great for, theoretically, Rogue. Armut and Mad Lions said no, stared down the camera, 3-2, they pull through. It was ecstatic to watch.
It was, and as you say already, the first final without either G2 or Fnatic, and the last time that we saw a different champion in G2 or Fnatic was all the way back in 2014.
2014 Alliance is the third team ever to host the title, right? Up until then it was Fnatic, Alliance picked it up, then it was G2. What we didn't realize at the time, Sjokz, was how monumental that win would be, but also that it was a flash in the pan. Because outside of this past spring, only Fnatic and G2 have lifted that trophy. Mad Lions are now the 4th team to do so. It is gigantic in the context of all of the years of European League.
Ender?
And for me, this isn't going to be a flash of the pan for the Mad Lions. This team has constantly been grinding, constantly improving, bringing in young talent since they joined the LEC just a couple of years ago. And I don't know. The way they looked at MSI, again, looking very stellar. I think this team and their creativity and their execution when it comes to team fighting is just world-class and so strong.
Well, I'm glad you brought up MSI because, I'm not wrong by saying that not everyone was as convinced about what they could do at MSI, Trevor, but they made it all the way to the semifinals. They put up a fight against Damwon, and the fans can be happy.
I mean, MSI was very, very surprising for a number of regions. Expectations very low for Mad Lions, very, very high for Damwon, for RNG, very obviously. But I think when you look at the players on Mad, the impact that they had, and of course their relative experience, that's what really shone through. Mad Lions lost in an international event at Worlds. They left some question marks, and that was where some of the trepidation and the fear came from. It's the first new representative from Europe, the new champion at MSI. For me, Kazi and Kaiser were the standout performers. Kazi on and off the Rift just stole my heart, and his banter game stepped up as well.
Yeah, it was great to see that team evolving and also getting that experience, because we can't forget this is what helps teams and what shapes teams, no matter the experience you get there at MSI, but the fact that you can scrim all these teams, that you can bring that back to your region. And Ender, speaking about this region and speaking about the Summer Split and obviously the race to Worlds, Rogue, Mad, G2 are currently the top 3. That means if you're any other team, you have to end above them to get to Worlds, and that spices everything up.
And that just seems, almost insurmountable of a task, because all 3 of those teams looked super good towards the end of the split. Obviously, G2 had a bit of a falling off period in playoffs, but still very close between Rogue and the Mad Lions. That top 3 for me, I don't personally think it can be broken. We've got a ton of roster changes that can maybe shake things.
You haven't even said Fnatic in the list. Yeah. They're not even on there.
I mean, it's crazy, but, every summer season, things get absolutely shaken up, and I'm sure that a lot of teams will be vying for those top spots, because since we last saw the LEC, things have kind of gone a bit off the rails.
Yes.
But we like that. Quickshot, why don't you break down all the mid-season madness?
I will. I love mid-season madness. So take a walk with me as I break down the mid-season madness update and walking you through the summer changes. As we come into the beginning of the season, I wanted to take a look at the total number of changes to starting players. So if you take the 50 players in their roles at the end of spring and compared them to now the start of summer, we've got a whopping 11 number of changes across the teams. Technically speaking, today is 12, as SK Gaming have an emergency sub, but I'm not quite sure if that quick stat should be tracked. It is a very tough one to figure out. Now, this is one of the most exciting mid-year off-seasons ever, and to very quickly run you through each of those changes, focus, listen up, and let's start with SK Gaming. Some have called this team the autofill team. As Treats moves to jungle, Jezza starts in support. They're bringing a new meaning to the put me in coach or put the coach in. I don't remember how that goes. There's something there. Vitality next. They got a brand new roster. They only kept their bottom lane, but the headline names have to be Selfmade and Leader. They've joined the fray. I expect explosive play and in-your-face aggression all day, every day. Do not let me get stung with a bad prediction here, boys. XL also made changes, bringing in one of my favorite players, Nukeduck. Danik is finally free to roam the Rift as well. But what impact can these players have on a team and a roster who has been so tantalizingly close to playoffs, only to fall flat on their face at the final hurdle multiple times? Only time will tell. Now, Sjokz have some changes as well. Kira is in, our god. Gilius is out. And one of the other side notes is that all 3 rookies this summer are French. Not Renekton cosplay French, but LFL players who have been drafted into the LEC in their debut seasons. I wonder if the success of all the French players in recent history may start the conversation about French players being the most dominant and taking the mantle away from the Danes. Time will tell who's truly the greatest. Finally, the headline that shocked absolutely everyone. Brippo transitioned to the jungle, and replacing him in the top lane is Adam. Fnatic are looking to challenge the top of the table, reclaim the title if they can. And remember, it is Mad Lions, as we just talked about from Spring. They also need to surpass G2 and Rogue at the same time. And for Fnatic, this does seem like a very bold move. But from what I can see in OP.gg and from the rumors that I'm hearing about Fnatic's performance in scrims, Bwipo appears to be a badass in the jungle. So that's your roster, mania, madness update, every single change, but there's so much time and luckily 3 days of broadcast to cover it all.
Absolutely, and we're also going to take a little bit of time now because there are so many interesting changes. Let's dive into a couple of them, starting with the one you ended on. Bwipo role swapping to the jungle ender, and during MSI there was a lot of banter, there was some teasing of this possibly happening, but it was still shocking when it actually did happen.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was going to be real until Fnatic came out and said it. And even then you're like, really? Is that happening? Yes, Bwipo joining the jungle. And honestly, I feel like Bwipo is the type of player with a really good head on his shoulders, great mind for the game, and also kind of the right champions, right? Keeps buffing champions that are traditionally top laners, throwing them into the jungle. They made all these jungle changes, hopefully to make it more accessible. And half of Bwipo's top lane champions were junglers. Zac, Rengar, who knows what he'll be able to pull out for us. Ultimately, though, I think that Bwipo is going to be solid in the jungle for Fnatic. I think he's played with 2 very different junglers stylistically in Bwipo and in Broxa and Selfmade, that's the one. And I think that using that experience playing on teams with players like that, you can try and learn and take what's best about both those 2 styles.
And conversely, Ender, with Adam coming into the top lane to now replace Bwipo, remember when Bwipo made his debut, he was playing alongside Soaz, right? So he was the secondary top lane. He had to learn. He had to figure out the ropes. And I think that experience and the ability to learn also were under the Fnatic banner will allow Bwipo to enable and set Adam up for success. Adam is a player that dominated in the LFL. Now we need to see that translate and convert to the LEC because it is still a significant step up.
And I think it's so great, too, seeing that Adam coming into this Fnatic team. I don't know if there's a team I'd rather come into if I had more of an eclectic top lane champion pool with the Olafs on the Dariuses, because, hey, Bwipo's played on this team for a couple of years now, and they let him play all the crazy stuff. So week 1, I would not be surprised to see Adam say, no, I don't have to play any of the meta stuff that you guys expect me to. No. Adam is going to have a very unique style, and I think Fnatic are going to enable him to do that.
One of the only players worldwide that played several games of Olaf top and popped off with it. You've got very famous that pentakill on Darius. And I think one of the things that's interesting, if you zoom out and you look at the roster of all 5 players, Niski in the mid lane is a little bit more of that supportive mid laner. In my mind, I think of the Seraphine, I think of the Oriannas. Then you look at the bottom lane with Upset, you think of the potential for Adam. Now, if Bwipo and Niski can enable either of those lanes, theoretically, you could be top lane, you could lean bottom lane. The potential is there, but I need to see it happen on the
Yeah, and so much hinges on how Bwipo is actually going to perform in that jungle, how Adam is going to do in that top lane. It's crazy. crazy times for Fnatic fans, but let's move over to Vitality because it's also crazy times for Vitality fans. I mean, what happened there? Leader is now in the mid lane. Selfmade is now in the jungle. Of course, Sjokz after one split already out now in favor of that other French rookie in SLT. But Trevor, it caught me a bit off guard how many changes were made by Vitality, but then again, you have to say, spring results were not good, so something had to happen.
No, they absolutely were not. I mean, like we said in the cold open, 10th place, how can you do this? Look, I think this is obviously a decision that Vitality needed to make some changes, not only with the team, but the support staff behind them as well. Gigantic number of changes for the organization. Selfmade in particular speaks incredibly highly of Leader in that middle lane, and we've seen that Leader is a playmaker. His champion pool is very assassin heavy, it's very in your face. He wants to be the guy that wins you the game, and you absolutely have to tune into the pre-match for game 4. I'm actually going to take a deeper dive on Leader specifically, but I do think when you think of these two players together, Leader in your face, assassins, melees, and then you go Selfmade, who wants to be the tip of the spear, the first guy in the jungle. That is a double-edged sword. It can either win Vitality games or it can cost them entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is looking at Vitality and they're like, ooh, when is this going to explode? Is this going to hold together? And I think Selfmade saying that he wants to play with Leader is a really good sign. And it's also a really interesting one, too, because we've seen Selfmade on, Fnatic when he's been able to play his style and the team is all supporting him in that. He's looked really good. We've also seen when it hasn't quite all lined up for Vitality, it's very important, starting from the mid-jungle 2v2, that they are aligned in a style, aligned in a way to play out the early game so that they can find success.
Super exciting roster, and the jungle role swaps might be all the rage right now, but 3 years ago, a man ahead of his time made a pathway for future students. Cadril, what is your advice for the new kids on the block in the jungle?
Well, I've got lots of advice for the new kids on the block, Sjokz. I've got Cadril's jungle class for the first time here in the LEC, and there's lots of questions which you might ask yourself as a player, or as a laner in general. It's like, can I win my lane? Are my pings never being heard? Does my voice never get heard by my team? Or am I just the one getting jungle diffed, getting ganked all the time? Well, have I got some news for you? It's about time you're the one who rolls up the jungle, as many players throughout the years have done. You've got Ambition, who went on to win Worlds in 2017 after roll swapping from mid. High roll swapped from mid 2015, took Cloud9 to Worlds. And then there's me, who, I just roll swapped, so I still count. Anyway, let's get into some in-game stuff, some little tips and tricks that you need to know as a jungler now that you've roll swapped. And Skull Crab is your best friend. If you get double scuttled in the game, it's pretty much lost, as Inspired once said. Scuttle's more important than Nexus, so flipping the game level 3 for it is always worth it. Sometimes it's not going to work out. In most cases like this, it's probably not going to work out, as we saw from Blabber. But if this does happen, just blame your team, really. Just blame your laners for not moving in time and being the one who's forced away and not able to get the crab in the first place. Well, now you've got the crab, or you flip the game, what are you going to do? Well, you could look for ganks, but if you never really find ganks or actual plays to make, or drakes or anything like that, just full clear. You're against minions and monsters. You're not even against the laner. Just full clear your jungle and scale. That's the only thing you need to do. And by the time you full cleared your jungle a couple of times, you're the same level as the solo laner on the enemy team anyway, so absolutely fine. But in all seriousness, best of luck to Bwipo and Treats in their role swaps. It's something I went through, and it gives a new drive factor behind being a player in general, a pro player with a new perspective. You can learn so much more about the game, and I hope they both succeed.
Thank you very much for that, Cadril. We're going to take that with a pinch of salt, I guess. But just blame your team. I get it. Ender, however, there have been some changes also. We're coming in on patch 11.11, but we need to talk holistically about the jungle changes coming into this season.
Yeah, because there were some big ones, right? Riot basically tried to backstep a little bit on the jungle changes they did almost a year and a half ago now, where they reduced the jungle timers from 2.5 minutes to 2 minutes. They also cut out Comeback EXP. Well, a couple of patches ago, Comeback EXP is back in a more tempered way, and also the respawn times have gone up to 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And I think the really important thing about a change like this is that it opens up a big window for junglers to get something done on the map. If you looked at a lot of the common, full clear junglers, they'd full clear their jungle by 3:15. That's when the crab spawns. They clear that, they recall, and they're back on the bot side for their camps to respawn. Now you have 15 extra seconds. So that buys buffer time to look for ganks or for more ganking champions to get a gank off and also find more time to clear their jungle.
What's also very interesting is that when we do look at patch 11.11, we're one of the last big leagues to start. So we can look at LCS, we can look at LPL, we can look at LCK, and you're seeing some of the buffed and nerfed items and champions on your screen. I think Ezreal got a small buff, changes to Divine Sundra, means that he shot up in priority. For the most part, though, the meta and the majority of the champions are still looking very similar to MSI. So if you've been unable to check out any of those other regions, but you did watch MSI, expect that. Rumble still remains 100% present pretty much worldwide. And then there's some flares that are slightly different. We've seen this in Zhao slowly start to pop up and some whispers around it. And then, of course, the Viego and the Gwen are enabled.
Yes, they are. Finally for Viego, I should say, because week after week it was like, sorry guys, he's still not there. But Ender, two very strong champions. We've seen them wreak havoc around the world already in their respective leagues. How do you think Gwen and Viego are going to shake up this first week of the LEC?
Well, I think we're definitely going to be seeing both of them. Maybe not like 100% pick ban, but almost all of the super strong champions at the moment are able to be flexed into multiple different roles. Top lane, mid lane, jungle. Does that sound like some champions you know? Maybe a Viego can get around the block, of Gwen too. So I think these champions, while they are very strong in skirmishing on their own too, you can also use that flexibility to get them into really solid matchups. And if you have players that are comfortable learning these new champions, you have multiple of those players on your team, you're going to have an edge over the rest of the competition.
So distracting having Viego right there, I'm not going to lie. I agree with Ender entirely, and I think what's very interesting for me is how Europe is going to adapt to the patch. I think Viego being like 100% presence over in LPL, but significantly lower in LCK. Viego and Gwen together in LCS being higher than what we're seeing in LCK. So there's going to be different flavors, different takes, and Europe has always been a region that has been a little bit different in its approach.
That is true. Also, Hex Flash is also not enabled for us due to the bug that we've seen in other leagues. So we'll see how that has an influence on our teams. We'll see all the changes in play and in action tonight. So let's take a look at the schedule for the LEC summer season. Week 1, 5 games. Of course, we, as always, are going to see a look out of every single team, Ender, and with all the changes, that is very, very interesting and compelling.
I mean, pretty much every game you're going to get a new player, someone you're surprised to see in a new position on the Rift even. But for me, it comes down to the best name in the LEC. Sjokz and Laure nuclear int in the mid lane. It does not get better than that debut against Leader.
It's true.
Because one of them is going to do it.
It's true. A nuclear int. I hadn't thought about it that way. First up, though, we have G2 versus the Mad Lions, a growing rivalry in the LEC. And after being dethroned in the spring playoffs, the 8-time champions are looking to get revenge.
For G2, it's gonna be like a kick in the back because they lost to us.
Slow and low angles, the shockwave is huge! Humanoid may have just done it! And it's Mad Lions that defeats G2.
So I think that they're gonna bounce back and they're gonna become a lot better team. So maybe, thanks to us, maybe G2 will win Worlds, I don't know.
First couple of weeks for Mad should be really tough. Other teams are really hungry for just getting like an LEC win, which I think to Mad Lions might feel like nothing right now after playing MSI.
Cyclone onto the back line. Khan trying to survive. He jumps across the wall. Bevel, killer instinct from Kazi. He's still alive somehow. Canyon going in. Almost killed off Canyon, but Kazi's dead as well. Human has to keep himself alive in this fight because Showmaker's going to put so much damage down. Ghost diving in. Knocked up. Taken out. Ghost still alive somehow with the double. Elioya, Kazi, Humanoid.
In the end, I think they'll be fine. It's just I wouldn't be surprised if they are not top dogs from the gate.
Amazing intro to this first game of the summer season. And look at how the goalposts have moved, because at the beginning of this year, we said this G2 straight to Worlds, already looking forward to that, Trevor. And now second fiddle, even third fiddle in the LEC to Rogue and to Mad, and they're playing Mad right now.
The terrifying thing is, not too long ago, Mad Lions were called G2 Light, the younger brother of G2. And now Mad Lions have taken up the mantle. One of the things I find very interesting is Mad Lions have consistently improved and developed. Their roster changes, their support staff upgrades, and systems that they're implementing has allowed Mad to consistently grow and develop. That's what helped them win spring. Let's not discount the fact G2 struggled a little, but now with the changing of the guard and the fact that we've only ever seen one other winner, now the pressure's on Mad to maintain that form. The stakes couldn't be higher.
And speaking of their support staff, for more on this matchup, let's send it over to Laure and Mac.
Sjokz, thank you so much, and Mac, thank you for joining me. First, congrats on the MSI run. You guys had amazing results going toe-to-toe against Someone. Kia, how was it?
I think overall the tournament was a really positive experience for us. The Sheer number of games that we played was really incredible. I think we played, what, 20-something games, which is like more than the entire regular split for the LEC, and they were pretty much all against good teams, and we really enjoyed it overall. So yeah, I would say it was overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, I can imagine it was a super good training for you, but also I saw so many players mentioning that they were super tired after MSI and that the schedule was so intense. And I mean, you only had like, what, 2 weeks before going back to summer in the LEC? How did you manage players' health so that they wouldn't get too tired before the end of summer? Because that's the road for Worlds, basically.
Yeah. So that's going to be a big topic of focus for us from a kind of staffing perspective, from like a performance management, sports psychology, that type of thing perspective during Summer Split, because we need to make sure that we peak at the right time, right? Which is obviously always towards the end of the split. You don't want to like kind of burn all the fuel in your tank up in the early stages of the split. So we're going to be doing a lot of things to try to kind of lower the pressure, ease some of the burden, and make sure that we repeat what we've done well previously, right? So that comes down to one of our big strengths as an organization, I think, is prioritizing players' mental well-being and health. So I think we're willing to do a lot of things that other teams aren't. Like very often in the past, we've run a more reduced scrim schedule as compared to other organizations. We've done a lot of focus on team culture setting and making sure that we are willing to take days where we just focus on being open and honest and talking to each other and talking about problems. And sometimes that's much more valuable than just scrimming a lot, right? Or even just doing things together as a team to have fun, because it's a big kind of core belief of our organization that our players are at their best when they're healthy, when they're happy, and specifically with the Mad Lions League of Legends roster when they're having fun. So focusing a little bit on that on the day-to-day, I think will be really important for us in summer.
Yeah, you want to keep the machine going, and I mean that's going to be a challenge for the 3 top teams that we had in spring, which are you, Rogue, and G2 Esports. And it's the first thing you're going to play today, actually. And there's a lot of questions around G2 and how strong they're going to look like this summer. Are they going to look stronger than in spring? Do you have any idea on that? And what's your take on G2?
I mean, I think to be fair to them, they had a really fantastic regular season in spring, right? So I wouldn't expect anything less from them. I would also expect that they're going to be less than satisfied with the results that they had during spring, and that they're going to come back really angry, to put it bluntly, and that they'll have been practicing super hard. So this will be a really big test for them to show what they're capable of. So I'm sure they're going to be super motivated. They've also been on the receiving end of the incredibly long splits with burnout issues in the past, and actually maybe some rest will have done them a lot of good. So I'm really excited to see kind of what the level is, because I think our level has stayed, even though we've had, as you said, a very short amount of time to scrim with, I think our level has actually stayed pretty good because of the amount of practice we got at MSI. So I think it will actually be a really interesting game.
Well, that's everything I wanted to hear, because an angry G2 versus the champions in the LEC right now is going to be a banger game for sure. But for now, Mac, thank you so much for the interview, and good luck against G2 today.
Thank you very much.
And Sjokz, back to you.
Fantastic interview with the emphasis on kind of the rest of the players in between the splits, and also said, G2 is probably not going to have done the same. And the million-dollar question is, how are they going to evolve? Which G2 are we going to see here in the summer season? Do you dare to have some expectations or maybe some predictions as to what we will see out of them?
Well, honestly, I feel like I'm in a pretty similar camp to Mac right now, where their regular season was very strong in spring. They fell off in playoffs, and now for the first time in 2 years, they haven't had to go to MSI, so they've had a little bit of time to regroup, maybe travel home for a moment, then get back here onto the grind once more. So I feel like this team is going to be quite strong. And for me, like one of the big questions has been sort of Sjokz for this team. And I think that in the offseason, I hope he's done himself a lot of good, because there's been so much young talent. For so long, he was just de facto the best jungler in Europe. But with the rise of Selfmade a few years ago, inspired Elyoya this year, he needs to be able to step up if G2 want to continue the trend of having the strongest players in pretty much every position.
I absolutely agree. And I think in particular, like Ender, you and I were losing our minds over Elyoya during spring. Every single time we had the pleasure of casting Mad Lions, we focused very heavily on him. The impact that he had, and then the performance that Elyoya demonstrated at MSI was incredibly impressive. Now, coming up against G2, I think the rest, the mentality, getting away from burnout is huge. And one of the things that I do want to just sort of share with some people is that several teams, especially the top of the table teams here in Europe, they didn't just take breaks over MSI. The best teams in the world were here in Reykjavik playing on EU West. And I know that teams like G2, similar to Phoenix, some of these other squads, were scrimming at the same time, as well as their players competing against the best in solo queue. Who can take away the most? Who can come and hit the ground running? That's what we're going to find out.
And also, big question, the adaptations or the changes in the coaching staff with Nelson now coming in. You know, the draft, it's always kind of memeable, but there has also been criticism towards the Karma and whatnot. I am super excited to see what the approach will be out of these two teams. And I know it's going to be extremely difficult to predict, but I'm still going to ask you. Ender, you can go first. Who's going to win this first game, Matt or G2?
Oh, I feel like G2 are gonna come out swinging here. You know, they've been stewing for a month and a half now. They're ready to come and get a dub.
I'm going to go the opposite way. I actually have more faith in Mad Lions. I think the ego, I think the desire to hit the ground running, I think Mad Lions will start strong, take their foot off the pedal in a few weeks' time, and then peak back up again towards playoffs.
All right, a lot of questions and 11 weeks of drama, triumphs, heartbreak, and epic League of Legends lie ahead of us. So without further ado, let's kick off the 2021 LEC Summer Season.
This summer, I wanna stand on top again.
We're in Sweden! The Swedish gets a pentakill!
He gets the triple, he gets the quadra. Give us a penta hand, Samus to start us off.
I still haven't accomplished what I wanted to do, which is become the best and stay the best for a long time.
That's a stun of the Redness!
Hillisang, oh my god! There's no way you should be able to hit that. Oh, Elioya gets it!
It would have been a shame, you know, if I stopped before reaching a finals.
Here is Odo! Feel the power of the slicing maelstrom!
Since 2017, I'm working really hard.
Might just look to end it. Here's Armlet.
Oh my god!
And now, LEC Championship, like what?
I'm playing since 2014, and even though I failed so many times, I kept trying.
And the train comes in. Oh my god, Sjokz, that is disgusting!
I just wanted to win, and I went for it, and I did it.
I've always looked at myself as the best player in the world. The only thing that's stopping me from not delivering that product is me.
Whippo into the back line, my god, that was personal.
I need to make worlds, no matter what.
Everyone, all 10 teams are going to the split thinking that they can actually be the ones to win this time.
History has been made. Neither Fnatic nor G2 will be in a European final.
Today we get to witness something marvelous. Today we get to witness history. And Mad Lions are not done yet. It is Hansama running for the hills. It is Rogue falling down. It is not Rogue. It is not Fnatic. It is not G2 in the new era of European League of Legends. It is the Mad Lions.
Now that Mad and Rogue both beat us last split, I think a lot of teams feel like it's a lot more doable to become the best now and maybe hold the title of LEC. Unfortunately for them, it is my job and my team's job to show them that that's not the case.
I think their hopes will get crushed in Summer Split.
I want to get my revenge against Mad. When I see them, I always feel like they stole my trophy, and I really wanted to win it. A lot of people should be motivated and believe in their dreams more, because they can definitely make it if we could.